Heidi ho, fellas. Gonna do some recordings. I think I told you guys last week that there's still a ton of mids watches to go. Like, I'm looking at the list right now, and I'm on. By the time this was done, the 5 that I've got set up here, we're at like 76, 75 remaining. Now, of those, there's probably going to be 10 or 20 that I don't need, but I just realized there's a lot more to like the red pill stuff. It makes total sense too, because when I was doing research for the book, I'm like, geez, this is a slog, and I guess doing him in video form is too. So I'm just gonna bite the bullet, get a ton of these out, edit and record and release a ton of these, and you guys are gonna have enough content that I can just walk away for like a year. So here goes nothing. The ones for today, it's actually kind of neat because you're gonna see a lot of familiar faces in it. The first one is actually from a guy, Alphabet 49 or Alpha Beta 49. Yeah. He's been around as long as I have, and he's since left and done his own thing. That's great. He has a great navel gazy type post, and I don't mean that in a bad way either. He's really discussing once you kind of got things figured out. It's just a common thing that most guys go through. So we'll see. I'll go through. The second one there is going to be somebody saw Roosh's art, or I mean Roosh's Return of Kings forum. Had a guy in there talking about the tough choices to make. And then Rolo did an article on it called The Dangers of Red Pill. And then this was us discussing, it kind of devolved into like a difference between the two different red pilled incubators, the red pill and the married red pill, and the fundamental difference on what part of the male action plan it sticks on. So it's kind of a neat one there. It's a little bit on the meta side, so it's probably not going to be the most interesting one or most applicable, but it's good to know from just a social dynamic kind of perspective. Next one is going to be just plain Jane information about unplugging and sex life while during pregnancy, which I guess a lot of guys are going to be family men. This is probably the one that you guys will get the most value from if you're, I don't know, older and whatever. Then opinions on doing shit for your wife. This will be good because it's about a guy who's like trying his best to hold frame, make up some mistakes. It'll be good. And then the last one is an old school Wine More Please post about the difference between frame and stoicism. And I think this one's kind of important, especially for the dudes that I meet online, because they're just bad at telling there's a difference between it. But you guys know the deal. When I record these things, I'll be ignoring you, but we'll chit chat in the chat. Anyways, I see Hook, Mish, Billy, Deadly, and Charismatic Dad. So it's good to see you guys. Let me get my thing going. As you can tell, I decided to wear the surfboard shirt today because it seemed fitting. Anyways, I'm gonna get started. Navel gazing. Just navel gazing. Welcome, guys. Red Pill, MidsWatch, as per usual. I'm Ryan. You guys have heard this before. I'm releasing this one around midnight. Whenever this one comes out is when you see it. So hoping you enjoy the nice vibe that I used to have back at the Network Operations Center when I used to work in the military as the Navy on the West Coast. It was listening to the midnight CBC Radio 3 where they'd go in depth about certain books and whatever. And I'm just trying to recapture the vibe for you guys so you can see what there is to learn and know about sexual strategy and positive male identity. So this post is from a guy, Alpha Beta 49. It's about, I want to say it came out in 2015, so 7 years ago. If you notice, there's kind of a trend here. It's all 7 years ago, 6 years ago. He was kind of joined the red pill and the space and kind of learning stuff around the same time I did. So it was kind of neat because he had a different situation, but we'll get into that. Anyways. He just realized, like, I don't know, I realized some things and I have a long way to go. I'm taking it easy and I'm working on me before making any life-changing decisions. About a month ago, I posted a field report and I'm doing a follow-up now to hopefully bring myself some clarity as I talk through this and also ask for feedback. So for the details for you guys, he's a 27-year-old dude. His wife's 28. They've been married for 3.5 years. They've been together for 6. They have 2 kids. And this one's kind of they're new. He's like, I'm a point above her in the SMV, but she perceives me as higher. I have a sidebar book that I still have to read. I'm lifting and I have an active social life. I cheated almost 2 years ago which effectively installed permanent overkill dread. She operates in fear, not desire, due to that. So before I go on, I wanted to make a point here. When he talks about the bringing himself some clarity through this and asking for feedback, I think it's great, as well as the taking it easy before making life-changing decisions. The key parts for that is most guys don't know what they want. In fact, every time some guy's coming from a zeroed out situation, maybe his wife left him, his church left him, or some hardship, and then they find their way here out of pure desperation, if no other reason, and you ask them, what do you want? Because they always ask, what should I do? What should I do? It's like, well, what do you want? And nobody has an answer. The easy piecemeal value to put into them is just like you're just deferring the situation. Build up options, build up abundance for this next 12 months, and then leave those hard decisions for that guy. So at least it gives the guy a placeholder set of values until he's able to build his own, what we would call a mental point of origin, or his ability to create a worldview that's beneficial for him and not just based off the manipulation and propaganda of others. At the same time here, the thing I like about this field report is it's not a hat in hand asking for help. It's a guy going, all right, here's what I've done. Here's what I'm trying to do. Here's how it ended up. And then it gives people a feedback mechanism, which is good for multiple reasons. Like one, if there's something you miss, somebody else is able to point it out and talk to you. At the same time, anything that affects you, there's probably going to be, in a place of like 20,000 people, any problem you could ever have, there's 500 guys that also have that problem, but either didn't articulate it or are afraid to mention it. At the same time, some guys have been through this and they fixed it, and the best way to solidify what they've learned is to teach. So between those three different mechanisms, the idea of a navel-gazy field report post-action is actually pretty beneficial. Continuing on here, though. So his choice is I was forced to consider what I truly wanted in life. I could stay married and raise my 3-year-old son and 1-year-old daughter while making my life as awesome as possible, hopefully improving my marriage, or I can get a divorce and fulfill all my fantasies of freedom, travel, and success and the thrill of the chase. Thoughts I came to. While my decisions were dangerous, it was the catalyst to where I am now, which is a good thing. Also, growth is painful. I know less of what I want now, but I'm happier with the fact that when I thought I knew what I wanted, I now have the freedom to dream, create, and achieve what I want. I went into a pseudo-metaphysics analysis of myself and debated aesthetism versus hedonism with people. Yeah, he kind of acknowledges, okay, that stuff was a waste of time. I have a good wife. She's not quite as shrill, entitled, feminist, lazy, bitchy as most women are. Western women, sorry. She probably works harder in the stay-at-home mom job than I do at my 8 to 5. She's got a feminine appearance. She cooks delicious made-from-scratch meals. She works very hard to respect me and my decisions. And he's like, I even make it difficult sometimes. Leaving her would be a huge blow to her honor as well as mine. And this is assuming my honor is important. I'm still working on that. I spoke with a family lawyer. Divorce would be financially feasible for me. She has income potential that is much higher than my current income. And court-mandated divorce rape is unlikely, although hell hath no fury, so I'm not assuming anything. The grass is not always greener on the other side of the fence. I don't want to get a divorce only to realize that marriage was better because it forced me to work harder on myself, or that I would give anything to have my kids and family back together again. I tried rationalizing that my kids would be okay, that my hamster bench pressing its own body weight, I couldn't handle the strain. I love them to death. I want to create a new legacy for future generations, yada, yada, yada. And then I was high on emotions in my last thread. Since calming down, I'm taking a long time to decide whether I want to divorce or not. Hell, I'm going to take the rest of my life to decide, but it'll always be on the back burner. I will constantly be reevaluating my marriage to see, if I'm doing my part, if she's doing her part, if the marriage is better than singledom, and, take one itis and dump it out in the back. So since I've last posted, I'm much more easygoing. I brought a project motorcycle. I'm disciplining myself to finish the home gym project. I'm doing 5x5 on the regular. Made weekly time to play a team sport. She and the kids come watch if they want. One fantastic result, she's initiated sex more than I have in the last month. So overall, I'm young and still don't have things worked out. I'm in no place to objectively decide whether she adds value to my life because I'm not adding as much value as I can to my own life, much less to hers. So I was all, I haven't been lifting, I haven't read the sidebar, and I struggle with things like OI and stoicism. Should I leave my wife and get some strange, even though my wife is awesome? It's like, I can see my hamster running clearly. So shout out to all the other guys. Before I get into Jack's takedown of this thing, the part that I love about it is there's a common trope, and it's common because I made it common, of the 28-year-old life coaches you see online that are rambling about what you need to do. They're full of piss and vinegar and bravado, and this guy was absolutely one of them. His wife wasn't putting out, so he went and cheated on her, get some validation from somewhere else. He got caught, his words. She had a huge temper tantrum, basically turned him into a supplicative chump. And then that kind of ruined their marriage. And that's when he found his way here, kind of came to terms with it. Now, there's a whole bunch of material on this, like, don't apologize for that. If she forgives you, she doesn't get to bring it up again. Don't confess things just to put the guilt on the other person to forgive you for. Sometimes it's better just to be discreet. And if you feel guilty, you shouldn't do the things either. But I'm not here to talk about all that stuff. The part that I like is he tried all the standard things everybody else does. He tried learning stoicism. He tried to talk about hedonism and all the building the legacy and all that, traditional conservative mindset crap. And by the end of his journey, which I don't know if it's articulated fully in this post, but by the end of the journey, he realized that's all just masturbation. It doesn't solve anything. It's just there so I can have some emotional feel good about what I'm actually doing is higher than just the emotionality of a young man with lots of testosterone running through him. Turns out he's just, jerking off about his brain and how smart he was. And he kind of came to terms with that, and he's calmed down. If I remember correctly, too, he did stick around with his wife. His wife stepped up. She was doing great. He realized, actually, I'm happy. It's fine. It was just this fear of missing out, but then not really missing out. So, but that's future. So in the past here, in your last thread, and this is from Jack Ten of Hearts, prolific poster. You guys may remember him from such threads as every other MidsWatch other than this one. In your last thread, you talked about your honor, and I think it's painfully clear to me that your issues aren't your sense of honor, but holding yourself to a standard of honor and then inconsistently following through. And he's going to bring up some quotes. I'm not going to give you the entire last post because I think it's a fairly long one too, if I looked it up. Yeah, at this point, it would just be for like the rubbernecking into his thing, but the quotes make sense. So the quote he used here is, "I'm not using birth control because we should really stop having premarital sex." That was how he had his first kid, by the way. So this is what I mean. Your sense of honor says we shouldn't have premarital sex, and I'm going to assume because that's a religion. So if you actually abstained from premarital sex, you would have knocked her up. If you let go of this sense of honor, then you would have bagged it up, and you also wouldn't have knocked her up. The next quote is, marrying the same girl who right before I was about to break up with her got pregnant. This one hits close to home. I don't know if I've had friends that had this. They were plated to a girl. The one I'm thinking of, and I don't want to give his name, but he was dating a few girls. One was kind of crazy. The other one was like a 34-year-old Quebec girl. And after they broke up, he got drunk one night at the bar, went to her place, they smashed. She got pregnant. And obviously, like 34, she's like, "No, I'm keeping this. This is it. This is my shot." And then he's like, "Well, I got to do the honorable thing and stick around." And it's like, you know what? At this point, it just kind of sad. But I'm sure everybody else kind of knows their own version of this story. So yeah, the honor is really about guys who want to sacrifice themselves to feel good, but it never tends to work out. And he goes, yeah, but anyways, Jack's like, yeah, marrying her, got her pregnant. So same stuff here. Your sense of honor dictates that you need to marry a woman instead of having a child out of wedlock. Fine, sure. But then you cheated on her. Now, if you had wifed her up, found contentment in your decision to do so, and focused your efforts on yourself and marriage, then I think your marriage would be in a much better place. If you had said, F this, I'll take responsibility for the child, but I'm not getting married, then you could now have a life where you could screw all the fat women on Craigslist you want without marital consequences. Yes, that's a very specific example. Don't worry about it. The next quote is where he talks about how he went to the pseudo-metaphysical analysis of himself, debated aesthetism versus hedonism, and don't correct me in the chat if I get the definition wrong or the pronunciation wrong. I don't care. I don't. So back to this one. It's like, look, dude, I don't know which one is better, but I do think you should pick one and accept the consequences. Based on everything I've read about you, I would make the argument that your lack of consistency about this is the root cause of pretty much all your problems. You are not owning your shit. You decide to own your shit one way and then doubt it in the best way, so you try and own your shit both ways, which is really not owning your shit. You mentioned in one of your threads about being somewhat disenchanted with your job, unmotivated, coming into work late, but then getting written up by your boss as a result. And this is the kind of stuff that I mean. If your job sucks, find another one and quit. But while you're still at your current job, you may as well do a good job, right? I mean, what do you have to lose by doing good work at whatever job you currently have? Investing in something that may be a lost cause? Well, how will you know if it's a lost cause because your job objectively sucks, or because it's a lost cause because you're lazy and not motivated and not making the most out of it? You'll never know unless you try. So part of why you have so much trouble evaluating the can I do better than my current situation is you've never tried to maximize your current situation, which makes evaluation impossible because you have no good baseline of comparison. You've never been able to tell yourself, I tried really hard to do this one thing, but it's not turning out the way I'd like. I'm going to explore different alternatives and be confident in evaluating whether they are better options. You're always questioning whether your situation objectively sucks, or if it sucks because you're not investing and making it not suck. Anyways, I say this because I'm almost 45, and you pretty much sound exactly like I did when I was in my 20s and early 30s. In my case, I eventually saw a therapist a few years after my divorce who pointed out that I basically had this pattern of self-destructive behavior. My complete inability to commit and follow through on anything was crippling anything I ever tried to do in my life. Anytime I saw two doors side by side, I always tried to walk through both at the same time. Suffice to say, you do not get very far through either doorway when you're doing that. The good news is you can, retrain your mind to stop this behavior. Now, for Jack, for me, my main mental breakthrough was that I realized everything is just a function of applied effort and time. And the corollary was this: I have failed at everything I stopped giving a shit about. And I'm going to emphasis mine here. I have failed at everything I ever stopped giving a shit about. It seems so self-evident, but to me, it really wasn't. I didn't always succeed at the things I gave a shit about, but I always failed at the things I didn't give a shit about. Now, hopefully, it won't take you too long to realize the same. Now, he and Alpha Beta go into it a few more times. Essentially nails it, though. 100% nails it. There's a reason that you guys have heard me talking on this channel, and if not, I suggest you follow it. But there's a few things you've seen. I've already talked before about the first 2 points, right? Where you make that deal with yourself in a year, build yourself abundance, let that guy decide what he wants. That's generally speaking good for guys who don't have any direction and have never had to describe their own direction. Same thing as the second one, but the one I wanted to focus on here is that line. I'm probably going to make it the title of this video because it's just so damn good. Guys don't try to maximize their current situation. They're so afraid of making the wrong decision, or they don't actually want what they think they want. And so when they go after what they say they want, their actual desires for something else, but they refuse to commit to either option, and then both get done half-assed. And you never know. I think that's the worst part. It's not that you fail at something, or it's not that you succeed at something. It's that you never know if it was a good idea or not. And I know a lot of guys won't make decisions because they're afraid it's going to be the wrong choice, but the only way to know is to commit to it. You can quit later. Like I said, if your marriage isn't working for you, you can leave. If your marriage isn't working for you, but you want to stick together with the kids, you can go, sleep around on the side. There's no legal ramifications against that. And your wife can leave you for any reason or no reason at all. So it's not like that Damocles sword is being held over your head. But, and this is a big but, if you decide something, you have to own it. Own it, follow through, be consistent, be aware of and accept the consequences. It seems so radical just to accept that. Hey, bad things can happen from this, but the good reasons outweigh the bad, or you didn't know about the bad ones and you're going to take this opportunity to learn. Doesn't really matter. So for when you are running through your own male action plan, just think back to this guy. Don't navel gaze about, do you want to be hedonistic? I'm sure if you're on Twitter or YouTube for any length of time listening to red-pilled content creators, whatever the hell that means nowadays, because apparently it's just yelling at women, They're trying to tell you all these values. They're trying to use very smart intellectual terms. They're talking about Nietzsche and all these other guys, and just ignore all that crap. All that is another buffer. That's a guy trying to walk through two doors at the same time, and he wonders why he keeps banging his dick into the corner jam. Don't be that guy. Make a decision. Own it. Is it the wrong decision? Is it the right decision? I guess you'll find out, but don't worry. At least you'll know by the end of it, and you can always change your mind later. That's Assertive Bill of Rights 101. You are allowed to change your mind, and nobody can tell you otherwise. And yes, even on these serious things, even when it comes to, do I stick together with my wife? Do I leave her and the kids? These are all choices you have to make. That's not very moral, is it? I guess it's not, but that's the whole point of Red Pill. It was never meant to be a moral space. Let your church handle that. Let your politicians handle that. Let your family handle that. You bring your own morals to the table. This place is just about the how. So now, if you have some moral squeamishness about leaving your wife, don't leave her. But then own the fact that you're not leaving her and put your all into what you got now. If you don't have those kind of morals, then go ahead, leave her if you want to, but don't stick around, sleep around, and then tell her to absolve your guilt. It's like, no, you made that choice, so you better learn some discretion. And I can give you examples of this all over the place, but just realize, every time I see a guy in his late 20s talking about how red-pilled he is and that, I just think back to this. And I remember, all right, that's what everybody's like when they're 29 and they know everything. You can't tell them what's up. They just haven't had enough experience to understand the idea that experience is more valuable than 800 hours of just thinking about it. So take that with you. Enjoy it, or don't. Do what you want. I'll catch you guys on the next one, though. Cheers. There we go. Where'd I leave off? 1 second, guys. I'm going to catch up with you here. Let the voice recover. I'm not quite the best yet at, where is it? Getting the larynx in there just properly. Keep doing too much esophagus conversation. It's killing my voice, so. Where did I put it? Oh, temp clips. And this video, almost done. I see you guys in chat. Give me 2 seconds. Where did I put the damn thing? Oh, there it is. Okay. Move you into my to-do list. Let's see what we got for our next one. Next one is you guys, of course. Where are my manners? Chat window. What do we got going here? Oh, look at this. Marcos, hey, Rhinestone is best stone. Well, I hope so, because the only other Rhinestone is a murderer. GEAC, your $5 super chat. Good stuff, sir. Thank you very much. Like I said, it was nice me doubling my effort. So I figured you guys get these things already through the MidsWatches. I'm like, why don't I do a couple live? Saves me some extra work, and you can kind of engage with the guys here and talk about them as we do these. It's a much easier environment. What the hell are you talking about, Wayne? Abundance of Prevtola, fascia. All right, I don't know. You got me at the nerd talk. I've tried drinking baking soda and water to lower acid levels. I don't know how it's going to work. Oh, if you're talking about that for like your pH lowering, runners used to do that a lot. The trick is it's just orange juice. Orange juice and like a teaspoon of baking soda. But just be aware, your stomach is not going to be a fan of you, so less is better than more until you get used to it. I'll warn you right now. Make sure you go before you start to run if it's a longer run. But yeah, it works all right. You'll see the effects. You'll see the effects. At least I did. Anyway, next one. Oh, I actually get to. It's like the third time ever I've quoted Rollo in a post. Oh, he's talking about gout. Oh, in that case, you're on your own. Uhuru, $5 1 cent super chat. Thank you, sir. Is there own your shit posting in your Patreon? I've had a hard time threading the needle between breaking Rule 9 while still discussing intersexual dynamics. That's all it is, to be honest. It's probably the most useful part of it there. It's the own your shit posts. We just do them once a week on Thursdays. and the guys will do their own field reports, and I just go through them. Usually your problems aren't unique, so I provide, examples kind of like this, but it's more tailored to your situation. As well as there's guys that have run through all their field reports. We're on like episode 176, 177. And so like if you're going through divorce, I'll point you towards, go check out this guy's stuff around this time, or go check out this guy's stuff. And the guys in there are running through at the same time. Yeah, it's and I'll admit, I know Wine More Please did it. I kind of disagree with some of his modding decisions, and that was one of them. The other one was been some of his choices on who to promote to moderator, but whatever. Yeah, the rule, it never used to be a rule. Guys used to do it, and then it would get corrected, but you didn't need a rule to boot anybody. Now that they made it a rule, everybody's become dogmatic towards the rule as opposed to the purpose of it. Having said that, the fact you're breaking Rule 9, I can already tell you right now, come on in, give it a shot. We don't charge till the end of the month anyway. But I will warn you right now, is that if you're looking for like a kind, polite, hospitable place like the Married Red Pill, like don't. I don't pull any punches, but like if you stick around, you will learn. I guess I can get on the next one here. Get started. The weirdest thing is I've been working with the guy for 3 years, at least. And this is probably the second time ever I have ever made reference to or quoted a Rational Male article or essay. Oh, welcome to the Red Pill. Welcome to the MidsWatch. It's Ryan. And this post is kind of a useful one. It's about the dangers of Red Pill. Now, it's got 2 parts to it. The first part is explaining the danger based on an article by Rollo Tomasi, which he got from an article written by a Return of Kings writer. I'm not going to focus too much on that because you can go read Rollo stuff. I'm not going to regurgitate it. But then it kind of got into the differences in male spaces, which I find it's more meta than I usually talk about, but the idea of how the Red Pill and the Married Red Pill have kind of created different atmospheres for male sexual dynamics, as well as what you'll see on YouTube, on Twitter, all the different places. It lets you know I almost want to say just like the nuances of male camaraderie and how there really is a skill to putting together a male space that's just lacking today in so many ways. The first one was the article by Rollo Tomasi, The Dangers of Red Pill. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the part that he's getting at, where is the part I want to read here? There it is. So I quoted this today because I find myself having to temper and measure my Red Pill evangelism with people I know personally or interact with professionally. I say evangelism because in spite of any measured explanation, this is what it comes off as to most uninitiated, blue pill, plug-in people. There is a degree of diplomatic tact you have to practice the more Red Pill aware a man becomes. Basically, don't Red Pill your friends. Because you starting to spout out, oh, I read this thing from Ryan's channel. I've read Fuck Files and I got this. I watched the Rational Male's audio streams. I read his book. And you guys need to learn about all this stuff. And you start expelling all these useful utilities and you're calling them truths or philosophies. And that's great. But you got to realize that's extremely off-putting. You basically sound like a Scientologist. And so the 2 problems here are, 1, if you get some guy who's simping for his wife, lets her go, like there's that weird trend now where guys are like letting their wives go out on dates, cucking it up, and then coming back and asking how it went, which I can't get behind it, but whatever, it's their life. You start telling that guy how that's not in his best interest, he's going to lash out at you. So you shouldn't do that. At the same time, you sound like an idiot trying to sell Amway products to people. So again, just don't Red Pill your friends. If they need it, they know where to find it. And this kind of all devolved into, there's always the cheerleading between the Married Red Pill and the Red Pill. The Married Red Pill's like, oh, we are Red Pill on hard mode. And the Red Pill's like, well, we are the OG and we are the real thing and we're more pure. And everybody's wagging their dicks and nothing gets solved. So here we are. Jack Ten of Hearts comes in again. In my opinion, the submissions you may read in the Red Pill subreddit are not consistently Red Pill or may dwell on areas of Red Pill that are not particularly useful to people, especially like us. And what he means by us is grown-ups. So the guy before him, Angels fan, you know what? I should almost put, do I want to? Sure, why not? grab the parent one here. So this guy is not too important. He's just kind of a guy, made a random comment. He's like, I still believe that they are different things between married and the red pill. I find very little value in the red pill and an immense amount of value in the married red pill. And that's when I kind of take issue with as well, but that's what we're getting useful here. So I think this guy is referring to subreddit communities and not the actual ideas, the theories, the philosophies, whatever you want to call it. If so, I actually agree with him completely. The red pill is way too focused on the anger stage. You know, you can basically insert any modern red-pilled space at this point for that. But hey, back in the day, the red pill was the anger central. I could see why they want to be a safe space for that, but essentially it ends up developing into a community based on outrage. Now, it's a tough balance. Like, I understand that. If you say, dude, get over your anger, you end up sounding like some annoying, women don't owe you sex, social justice warrior, and there's enough spaces outside of the red pill to get that response. But if you sympathize too much with that anger, then you never really let it go and get past it. So the red pill seems to have erred on the side of being that safe space. Now, normally that wouldn't be problematic, but the red pill is also a large internet community, which tends to lose intellectual rigor, for lack of a better term, as they increase in size. A lot more members mean a lot more viewpoints being expressed, which means only the most uncontroversial viewpoints are globally acceptable. Any other type of opinion or risks you getting attacked from some subgroup of the community. Now, unfortunately, uncontroversial can quickly evolve or devolve into extreme or at least repetitive. You see this in politics all the time. Propose an idea with any nuance, cut taxes, but also eliminate various tax deductions, and you'll open up several different attack angles. Now propose cut all the taxes, and nobody can do that, but you're not exactly moving the governing public policy discussion forward, are you? He's like, as a side note, I want to say that I think Dread, and to a lesser extent AWALT, are our versions of this. For example, AWALT is our version of taxes are too high, which we all agree on. AWALT in this case stands for all women are like that, which is it's a mental model. It's like treat all guns as loaded. Anyways. So we may all agree on that, but what some of us may not agree on is that every tax cut is good. Or personally for me, I hope the married red pill continues to be an area where I can debate why some tax cuts are better than others, or why some tax cuts may be bad for some and good for others. And I don't need to worry about getting a response like, Jack 10 of Hearts thinks tax cuts are bad, which means he doesn't want to cut taxes, which means he thinks they're too high, which means he doesn't believe in this fundamental principle, and therefore he needs to get out of here. Another point, too, the red pill's not a movement. There's no movement leader, there's no spokesperson, which may aid in its effectiveness if it did, but it also can limit it. He's like, I briefly spent time on Purple Pill Debate, and if you guys don't know what that is, don't look it up because it is a cesspool of nonsense. So I briefly spent time there, which I intentionally did not make it linkable here, since it was a giant waste of time. Because half the posts there are, let's debate whether red pill is misogynistic, and here is Exhibit A, I present this random comment about how women are retards who shouldn't be allowed to vote, which got 87 upvotes. And of course, some red pill dudes will say, look at that guy was an idiot. That's not red pill, which naturally gets countered with, well, that's a no true Scotsman fallacy. And the debate just gets dumber from there. So safe space for anger stage, plus uncontroversial opinions are most popular, plus lack of leadership to clarify canonical principles equals a lot of angry dudes posting a lot of angry and contradictory things. Now, in the married red pill, we are generally mature enough to get past the anger stage, Most of us are well into our fourth stage, depression, by the time we post. And we're a small enough community that we can extend red pill theory to things like marriage and come out intellectually stronger for it. Lastly, in the red pill sub, there's just too much focus on macro society implications for everything. Personally, I'm just too goddamn busy to worry about whether feminism is ruining everything or whether whatever else they get all worked up about. And I suspect a lot of us feel that way on the married red pill. I totally understand being angry at how your own slice of society basically duped you, but on the red pill, you have 19-year-olds literally getting infuriated because some millionaire in another country got divorce raped. Yes, AWALT. Let's go post about how much that sucks instead of taking ownership of our lives and discussing what we can do about it. And it's really the fundamental problem. I almost want to say it's just a demographic problem, but it runs deeper than that. This is on me near now. Subreddits are neat in that they give you a glimpse into the human condition, and they didn't really intend to. talked to it before about a concept called flavor posters, but in any online or offline community, the Pareto principle applies. 80% of the work is getting done by 20% of the people. Now, if you think I'm talking about moderators, I'm not. Moderators help at first, but there's just too many people to too few moderators to make a long-term impact. What happens in any community is the 20% of the people who are putting in all the work, all the content, setting all the social norms, they're called flavor posters. And generally speaking, those are the people that will make or break your communities, or at least guide it to a certain way of acting. Now, if you have people coming in too fast, if you grow too large, the flavor posters just like get lost in the mess, like a dilution thing. And then you just regress to the mean. And that's where you have like whammon ain't shit online all the time, of which is so popular right now. I think the greatest show in the red pill space right now is like a bunch of 28-year-olds yelling at OnlyFans models and getting them drunk and then kicking them off the show, talking about how they're saving lives. And I'm just like, I'm just too old for this. I've never felt old until people are telling me how entertaining that show was. And I'm just like, I don't get it. I'm done. I'm done. So what does this matter for you? I think the big takeaways from this are just to realize when you're into a space, look at who the most prolific people are. Because they, generally speaking, are the ones that are going to drive a place to one place or another. And if you don't see one, it's good to be one. If you want to change a space, if you want to make something better, you essentially have to, put in the work, be the change you want to see. And I'm not saying it's easy, and I'm not saying you want to do it, nor do you have to do it. But a good example for this is if you guys have ever been into a live stream chat with any of my guys. Amazing group of flavor posters. They know what they're doing. They're generally mature. They understand that the anger is a phase, and I would say probably done the best job out of anybody threading that needle between a non-judgmental place to allow guys to have their anger and get it out of their system and learn from it and do what they need to do, while also not being a space that just makes it so safe that it can be an incubator for more anger. So take from that what you will. I know it's not the most practical red-pilled example on this one, but it's always neat to see. As you see these arguments over, red pill is dead and this guy's all about outrage and these guys are better and this guy's better. Like, these are the same conversations we had 7 years ago, and I almost want to give like the red pill versus married red pill some credit here, because apparently that place was too angry filled, just full of a bunch of angry incels, bunch of teenagers. But we still have the same thing now, and that place is still here today. So it's almost just like built into the system. And the best you can do is just carve out a space that's well run and more focused. Take it for what it's worth. Anyways, catch you guys in the next one. Cheers, boys. All right. I see some questions. Oh, hey, Billy, Steamboat Susie's doing that thing you did there. So there's a way to get rid of that. You let me know. Here, Susie, I'll just let you know right now. You can troll in here all you want. You can make as many accounts as you want. It's not really going to change anything, man. It's like, you're not going to rattle me. There's nothing stupid you're going to say that's going to get me to have a temper tantrum on camera. You'll get bored before I do. I'll put it that way. So you might as well just stop spurging out and just act like a normal person. Like, give it a shot. You actually might find some use out of this stuff. Or not, because we can just keep doing this all day. Coach, where are the mids I can watch? Okay, are you talking about from Patreon or from here? So the MidsWatches, there's a playlist on my channel that shows all the MidsWatches. I think this is going to be, the newest episode was 53. Don't quote me on that one. But for all the live recordings, for Patreon, if you go to my main page when you're signed on as a member, it'll have the playlist of all the live recordings. So you can get that plus the live streams and that. Otherwise, I would have just deleted them, but there we go. I think it's good to go now. Excellent. Perfect. It's odd, like somehow it's easier to lecture women to act against their best interest than it is to get yourself to act in your best interests. Well, yeah, it's very easy. You just nag other people. I constantly tell you it's like men being raised as defective women. Now, whether that's true or not, I'm like, it could just be that's what all humans are like, but I prefer that as a mental model because it gets guys to consider, to at least build a nice good v bad distinction between feminine and masculine behavior that could work out for them. So we'll see. Yeah, if I can put up with my girls, should I put up with a young man's BS? Yeah. Anyways, what's the next one? Oh yeah, unplugging during pregnancy. I think you guys will like this. I don't know if any of you guys are new fathers or about to be new fathers, but this is one of those ones that nobody ever talks about, is 100% applicable, and I guarantee if you watch this video when it's released, you're going to see comments full of, my wife and I just had a baby. Where was this 6 months ago? And my wife and I are having a kid right now, and this is exactly what I've been doing. So I think you're going to love it. Let me see. Gen Xers are immune to that stuff. Oh yeah, that's right. I guess a lot of you guys would be Gen Xers, aren't you? It's just a frame thing, to be honest. I don't know. It's weird. I'm actually surprised more guys, considering how big shitposting was in like the 2000s and 2010s. It's like, how do guys get flustered at anything anymore? But then again, what do I know? Okay. Oh, before I forget, you gotta remember and label these things properly. Otherwise, I'm going to make myself a huge amount of work when I make some videos for you guys later on. Okay, next one. Let's get started. Zero commentary, zero red meat, unplugging during pregnancy, and we're going to get into a lot of the segs talk. Enjoy yourselves. MidsWatch, Ryan, it's good to see you guys. This one's a bit different in that it's pure swapping of notes. There's not a lot of navel gazing. There's not a lot of like red pilled lessons to take from it. It's almost like, you guys want tips and tricks? Well, here's your tips and tricks. So this is just another guy. He actually stuck around for a while. His account's still there. He hasn't posted in years. This one's about 7 years ago. Rediscover03. And he's talking about unplugging during pregnancy. So I took the pill when my wife was 5 months pregnant. We already had 2 kids under 5, and our marriage has been 6.5 years. And it's been rocky, mainly as a result of a downward spiral that was my betadom and inability to lead my household and wife proper. Sex is down to a trickle once a month. Me, a technician, rather than do it on my own and be declined, and lots of other classic nice guy behavior. Guys on this Reddit have been helpful, gave me advice in the last 3 months. See my post history if you're interested, and what I'm covering here is my takeaways and some advice if you find yourself in a similar situation of awakening and starting dread while your wife's pregnant. So let me debunk some myths first. You don't dread a pregnant wife, just like you don't next your wife. This is BS and a self-limiting mindset in incredible and total ways. The idea is that simply during pregnancy, 1, she needs more comfort than usual, and 2, you can't escalate through all levels of dread since she's about to give birth to your child. So realistically and rationally, dread and escalated dread is just a bad idea because of that. It will be limited by design. So in that sense, you can say you just don't do it the normal way and all the way. But there are definite ways in which you can apply dread and get closer to what you want in a marriage. Now, in fairness here, he didn't know, but that is kind of the advice. Like, a little goes a long way. You don't have to go all the way to the end of this one because they're just extra emotional and in need of more comfort. So, like 10% of the desirable stuff you'd have to do before would be good enough, but that's a calibration thing. Pregnant first officer doesn't mean you shouldn't raise your SMV. If anything, doing that could be powerful, as she's incapacitated and can't start raising hers if she smells like she can use you or lose you. SMV, by the way, sexual market value, is talking about working out and being hot, being attractive. So if you're starting with an advantage of this, I guess. No amount of diet or makeup or adapted workout regimes is going to make her more desirable in your eyes or the sexual marketplace when she's gaining baby weight. She's more emotional than usual. She's on her way to get even bigger with a baby. So as you hit the gym, you'll be hamstering and ideally dreaming of and planning the day when she can hit the gym also. My wife last night was mapping out her new diet and was a bit flustered when I caught her doing it. So my new physique, my stamina, and going to the Iron Temple 5 days a week is registering, and she doesn't want to get left behind. Don't stop hitting on her. Don't be tempted to think, oh, she's not in the mood, she's uncomfortable, she won't feel like it, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. Keep doing it. Even if she's uncomfortable, have her find other ways to please you, like, handies or blowies. Keep pushing assertively and charming for what you want. Use this time to fix the house. Earn solid points in the more proactive you get about planning like a leader for when the baby arrives. In America, women are obsessed with the nursery, taking pictures of it and showing them to their friends. Amazing, the idealization of offspring, but I digress. Keep your head in the game, fix what needs fixing, make a plan for what needs to happen until the birth date. Now, he took this advice from a guy who's called the Greasy Pole, who used to be Red Pill, but then got kind of booted from the community for basically ignoring anything Red Pill. So I left that in for completeness. Since then, he just goes on Purple Pill debate and argues with everybody over stupid shit, so whatever. When he's talking about taking the lead, it's not about, okay, so your wife wants a big, expensive nursery, so you need to go and fetch, because it'll give you good brownie points. He's missing the point of it. The point of taking charge in this, because in this example, women are nursery crazy. They'll buy a $10,000 crib. They'll completely redecorate the whole house. The nesting instinct goes crazy. By taking the lead on that, you're making the statement that this is my house. I am in charge of this relationship, and I will have this place built to the specifications I desire. Like, you're taking charge on it. It will be sufficient for your needs, and your excesses aren't going to be a part of it. If that helps. As opposed to guys who just like, oh, whatever the lady wants, and the next thing you know, you're $100,000 in debt, you find the red pill, and you teach you about the treasury. Preface over. Practice some outcome independence. It's the key part of the transformation. I approach frequently, get to kind, keep a journal, talk about our hamster, take off when she declines. I mean, this is all stuff you've heard on other MidsWatch. It's like, none of that changes. Don't talk too much. She'll try to corner the heck out of you with all kinds of conversations regarding you, your changes, how you want too much sex or too little sex, how she's pregnant. Just walk away, fog, agree and amplify, amuse mastery, and if she wants some commitment on a future plan, just say, let me think about it, and walk away. Do not go to couples therapy if she calls you an asshole. If things indeed escalate, she'll bring up couples therapy. Mine did. Thanks again to the awesome advice here. I declined, and she was again stunned, cried, pulled threats, but eventually she can't drag you in there, can she? She'll follow your lead in the marriage, and it's up to you to demonstrate you don't need some armchair stranger that you bill $200 an hour to teach you how to communicate as a couple. Practice pickup constantly. Go about your day. The idea is you want to become charming. It's being attractive and not being unattractive. And this one here is a controversial one, and I don't have any follow-ups to it. So again, putting it in for completeness. He stopped wearing the wedding ring. Funny enough, my wife is either that self-absorbed she hadn't noticed, which is likely, or she pretends she didn't, which is whatever. So if it comes up, I'll play some AA in that. And to be fair, there's a whole other post way in the future about a guy taking off his wedding ring as a kind of covert contract. So just make the decision for yourself on this one. I don't wear, but I'm only common law either, so just do what you do. Anyways, so I'm not out of the woods yet, but here's some notes for you that helped me going through my journey. Now, the part that I love about this is the follow-up from Jack. Because he's been through this a few times. So he's like, all right, your mileage may vary, but my ex-wife and wife both found themselves feeling this mix of horny and self-conscious in the second and third trimesters. I recommend a lot of dinner time fooling around in the first trimester. Your wife will probably be feeling shitty in the mornings. She'll also be feeling tired in the evenings and want to go to bed at like 9. So if your general pattern for sleepy time is right before bed, there's going to be a problem. Set a pattern for more afternoon and early evening sex. You probably won't have a lot of sex during this time anyway, but don't let things die out entirely as soon as those 2 bars show up on the pee stick. Second trimester, she'll be feeling better, but also alternate between feeling like a fertile goddess and a fat cow. So here's what happens. Wife typically shuts down in the first trimester. Husband accepts it. Second trimester, she's more open, but too self-conscious to initiate. Husband is wary to initiate it because, let's face it, pregnancy can be an adjustment. There are some mental hurdles the husband himself needs to clear. For example, if you've wrestled with some sort of Madonna whore complex based on how you were raised, while your wife is just switching over to the Madonna side, which means imagining yourself railing her doggy style while she's pregnant, can seem a little contradictory. Now, this can be really badly reinforcing. Wife is horny but too self-conscious. Husband is kind of burned out and wrestling with his own hang-ups. Maybe month 4, month 5, you try fooling around, but it's tough to get into the groove now. You have to start trying new things. Or you and your wife keep worrying about whether this will hurt, you or the kid. As if you're somehow that long that you can reach all the way into there, but whatever. Oh, yeah, and giving your baby fetal penile concussion syndrome. Note, this is not a real thing. Then, of course, there's delivery, which will probably wreck your body or wreck your wife's body for a lot more than the actual pregnancy. Tearing, shearing, So a lot more self-conscious, a lot more breastfeeding, generally speaking, a libido killer. So let me sum it up how I deconstructed this here. Have a decent, good life with your wife, smash life. You decide to have a baby, sex becomes clinical. Got to do it day 16, all that crap. If you take a while to conceive, this clinical sex may increasingly replace attraction-based sex, and you guys may get frustrated. And then you end up having, things tend to dwindle down. So then conception, congrats, except for now your wife feels crappy. Second trimester happens. She's not feeling shitty, but self-conscious. You may have your own mental hang-ups, and when you do fool around, it's going to be weird at first. You may both just have to give up a few times instead of plowing through to figure out the alternate positions that work for you. And then the delivery, a bunch of pain, natural libido killers with postpartum depression, breastfeeding, plus general parenting exhaustion. And then your kid turns 1. On the surface, it looks like you've settled into a good routine with your wife. She's looking pretty good, has lost most of the baby weight, but no sex. And what you may not realize is at this point, it's been 2 years since you've regularly had sex with her. Meanwhile, chances are you went full beta during that time. You were too busy to hit the gym. You didn't make a priority to see friends. If things weren't financially comfortable beforehand, they certainly aren't comfortable now. And that's why so many of us come here with the story about how things were with their wife until they had kids. Yeah, no shit. I suppose my point is a lot of this can be mitigated if you fuck your wife as much as you can when she's pregnant. Now, if you had problems with your sex life before pregnancy, then that's a whole separate set of problems. But for you guys without kids that feel like you're finally hitting your stride in a red pill marriage, or those with kids but planning on having more, do not let the above happen and cause a regression. So that was a lot. Sometimes a little bit graphic. You guys tell me in the chat. I know a bunch of you guys, or some of you are Catholic with like 6 kids. Some of you guys just had 1. Some of you guys haven't had any. Some of you guys never had these problems. A lot of you guys already did. Share your stories in the chat. I'm all very curious myself to hear about it myself. So, for those of you guys who are worried about the bravado speakers talking about, yeah, just do this, bro, remember, real life and experience tends to always overcome whatever intellectual straw man you make up to sell, Gumroad courses online. So, take it, enjoy it, have fun with it. I will catch you guys on the next one. And we'll talk about something a little less graphic, maybe a little more fun. So, cheers. I had to censor a bunch of those ones. I'm like, oh, I can't bring up that. I can't bring up the butt stuff. Better calm that term down. All right, put you in the thingy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, doing shit. My ring drives me nuts. Don't wear watches either. Yeah, same. Watches are heavy now. I watched a 2-hour lecture from the 80s, pure gold. Someone in Tate's chat contradicted him with some words from Ryan, and Tate went to this crazy rant claiming I'm not a real man because I'm under 6 foot. No, that was from Rich Cooper's thing. He was the hell was it? He was taking a dunk on Colty Bra, some guy on Twitter, and then he said he sent his war room of masculine excellence to his house to harass him. And I'm like, Colorado's an open carry state. I don't know if it's a smart idea to be admitting online you committed a felony. So I took the benefit of the doubt and assuming that Tate's a liar, but he's not stupid. He seems like a very smart guy. So I'm like, there's no way this stuff, I'm telling my guys, there's no way this stuff happened. Why would you admit to committing a felony? And why would you risk guys' lives like that? It makes no sense. Just over some internet beef. This is not 1996 Usenet. And one of you guys sent a $5 super chat on Rich's channel when they were talking about it, and then he went into some rant. So yeah. That was that one. I didn't even know about it for like 6 months until somebody texted like, dude, Tate's on Rich's channel talking shit about you. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, Rich, what is this? He goes, oh, just don't worry about it. I'm like, oh, fair enough. And I finally watched. I'm like, dude, this is great. I made an ad out of it. The Tate clip. Oh, okay. Oh, so you guys all got that. Anyways, I'm not here to speculate into that. I don't really care. It was mostly about the guys because it's like so easy to get manipulated on social media and lied to, especially younger people because young men are stupid. Old men are stupid, but young men are stupid. And so they tend to believe anything as long as you see receipts. But I've seen the receipts. They're all faked. Like you see any dude in a private jet, I'm telling you right now, he just bought that stupid studio that sits down in Texas. Don't even worry about it. I'm all about being direct, but I don't ever see just saying I've always wanted to do that. But yeah, never mention it as a fetish. Has to be. Anyways, one of my swapping notes for you guys. I never had the pregnant fetish myself, so I'm like offering zero advice that's useful on you or for you here. Let me see. I think we're caught up now. Natural birth baby goes to mother's chest right away. No shots, no circumcision, delayed cord cuttings. There was more after doc is done. Get out. What? Oh, the drugs are bad thing? I don't know. Yeah, see, there's all this science stuff. I don't know what's true and what's not. I'm not gonna. I have a feeling that it's just about as useful as looking up workout and nutrition advice. And probably 90% of it is not. So we'll see. Anyways, let's get something a little more lighthearted and young. Oh no! Somebody did something for his wife. How beta? MidsWatch. Ryan, welcome. I hate these posts, but I like that we have it here. This guy's asking for an opinion on doing stuff for your wife. He goes, one of the key ideas in the Married Red Pill is don't do stuff for your wife that she can do for herself. First off, it's not a key piece of advice. And secondly, he only got half of it there. It's the idea of don't let yourself be manipulated becoming a plow horse, but whatever. Anyways, I was confused how I read one poster, lamented how the girl needed to get her tires rotated. And he thought the Married Red Pill community would tell him to stop doing it and get her to rotate her own effing tires. To my surprise, though, it was the exact opposite. They gave him crap for being lazy and told him to get it done, even if it meant he had to walk home because his lazy wife wouldn't pick him up from the tire store. I was a bit surprised because can't his wife drive to the store as easy as he could? Why does he need to do it? Anyways, he goes on more about this example and he puts a link up to it. And it's just a horrible... You know what? What the hey? We got some time. Set yourself down, and this is a guy asking if he bit off more than he can chew or acted too fast. It's a common complaint guys have, but they don't understand what they're asking. Where they start acting red-pilled, their wife responds badly, and then they ask us, what did I do wrong? When they realize the problem isn't that they're doing things wrong, it's that they're still looking for their wife's validation. So it'll be a good little side quest before we get to the main one here. Wednesday, I'm in Blue Pill Land, 12-year marriage, 2 kids, 5 and 7. The last 6 years have been sex 1 or 2 times total. Jesus. 6 years, once or twice. Constant fighting, generally miserable. Any episodes of happiness are centered around the kids. Thursday, discover the subreddit, buy the prereqs, get my 41% of the way through No More Mr. Nice Guy, and today I decide to start with what I can. So typical, red pill, got it. I'm red pill aware. I've read half a Rollo article. Let's do this. I'm officially now an alpha male. And you'll see why these things are always bad and why you tell guys to fucking be more deliberate. But so we text her. I need to pick up the kids from school so that I can go to the grocery store, prepare dinner. She says, cool, calls him later. Well, he's in the middle of cooking. Asks if I can help pick up the kids. And I tell her, there's no way I can help you pick up the kids. You got to do it. He figured this was a shit test of sorts. The kids are difficult to get out of school at the end of the day. They love it there. They're hungry and they're tired and they give each other a hard time. For dinner, my youngest poops and runs out of toilet paper. He still needs help wiping himself, so the wife does it with tissues and plugs the toilet. I don't remember whether she told me or asked me to unplug it, or I brought her the plunger and asked her to try first. She said no. I will tell her no. She unplugs it and then delays coming to dinner for like 40 minutes. We were trying to make a special dinner event for the family, working nicely for the kids. Dinner goes all right. We bathe the kids, tuck them into bed. As we're saying goodnight, I let her know I have to run to the store. It's already 8 and the stores close at 9. Going shopping for groceries, which out a list, which she hates, and unbeknownst to her, a present for her birthday, and a Mother's Day gift that his daughter was hoping we can give her. He gets back home. It's dark, but the porch light is on. I know this is on purpose because she always turns it on for me, likes to have it turned on for her. I ignore this as I assume it's a shit test. When I get to the kitchen, she says, clean the kitchen. Most nights I do. And she helps at the end when she's doing the kids' lunches. I respond by telling her, don't speak to me like that. And tell her to clean the kitchen, that I'm not doing it tonight, and then I leave. She tells me for Mother's Day she would like to have me talk to a counselor or a lawyer, my pick. I tell her, if you were to say, can you please clean the kitchen, then I'd be happy to do it, even now. She says, no. Talks about counselor or lawyer. Lots of other shit comes out. I feign indifference, stuff like, you're not a friend, you're not a father, you're not an acquaintance. All this stuff would have me through the roof on previous days. In fact, now I'm awesome. Feel like this escalated fast, although she said crap like this plenty of times before. Should I have just gone on being beta while I read up on it? Yeah, so this is like the first time when a guy learns about boundary enforcement and they don't know how to enforce them. They think it's about negotiation. You can't talk to me like that. That is the premier sign of a beta male about to have his ass handed to him. She can talk to you like that because you just said you can't talk to me like that, and then you stand there ready for your second helping of berating. Now, there's two parts to it. One, you have to run a household. Household needs to be run, and he's letting her take charge, which sucks because generally speaking, when it comes to this stuff, women always make everything into a panic, a lack of planning, and then everybody just has to step up and do it. Not to mention, if you're not attracted to your husband, women will make this stuff harder than it needs to be as a buffer to prevent from sleeping with their man, which is clearly his situation. Secondly, because he goes along with it because he doesn't want to create any tension on it, not only does he kill the attraction, but when he tries to finally reassert his head of the household status, is that she just doesn't trust it. It's like, you've been a bitch for like 6 years, and all of a sudden one day you read a book and like, get out of here. It's a compliance test, and that's the whole point, is that you have to just treat her like she's dead, she died. Run your house the way you want to run it. But these are like the learning pains. But it's just funny because there's this guy coming, he's like, I don't get it. The red pill tells you to just not take any shit from women. And then I come here and this guy's finally said, I'm not taking any shit from you, woman. And you guys are calling him an idiot. Why is that? And it should be painfully obvious, but it is the internet. Most people are stupid. So Strategos Autocrator, which is probably one of our first founding members next to Isolos and them. It's like, he put a great quote in a different thread. Being a leader is more work. From this work is where the authority comes. Your wife will sometimes shit test you about things getting done. You pretty much have to interpret the shit test as a cry for leadership or whether she's just being a bitch. Now let's use this shit test as an example. There you go, complaining about sex again. Did it ever occur to you I do so much stuff around the house that I'm too tired for sex? Maybe if you help me with the dishes for once, I'd be in the mood. Now sometimes a shit test like that means your wife can go fuck herself. But sometimes it means taking more responsibility around the house. Sometimes even doing more goddamn dishes. The literal parsing of what she's saying is, do dishes and we'll have sex. But we all know that's ridiculous and does not work. But it's up to you to evaluate whether your wife is not sleeping with you because she thinks you're a piece of shit that's causing her to disproportionately have to do things around the house, or whether she's just being an ungrateful, sex weaponizing bitch. I will preface this too with like a dishes example. Everybody always thinks the other person isn't carrying as much weight because when I do dishes, I see every time I do the dishes. But when you do the dishes, I only see the times that I'm there watching you do the dishes. So in my mind, I'm always doing more dishes than you, even if you're doing more. So when we tell guys to put in the work, run the household in the way you want it run, delegate if you need to, whatever, you have to understand that that's psychologically what's against you. So getting into arguments over this is just useless. You realize, like, I'm not doing this stuff so she can watch me do it and win some like scoreboard. No, I'm doing it because it needs to get done. And right now, I'm doing other things. You need to get it done. If she's sitting on the couch eating bonbons all day, and meanwhile you're keeping the house clean to your standard, it's time to start holding her to some expectations, some standards. But at the same time, if you're both stressed, you're both pulling your weight, sometimes it's a matter of just, roll up your sleeves, get that last little bit done, get the house right. But then again, the sex life and the logistics of a house and a family are two different issues, and a lot of guys try to mix them together because, well, let's face it, mostly it's because their wives like that because that's an easy leverage point to get things done. Hence, weaponizing bitch. If it's the former, the correct answer isn't to jump and do the dishes, but take a greater command of the household. Your wife's shit test is really a cry for leadership. You have a first officer that's had to begrudgingly lead, sometimes for years, because she's given up on you. Show her you're a captain, and things will change. Now, sometimes this will mean doing more manly tasks like servicing the cars. Sometimes it means bringing in a cleaning service so nobody has to worry about the goddamn dishes. It's up to you how to solve your problems. Now, if it's the latter, you already do way more than your share of household tasks, but your wife is acting like a dramatic martyr. Then this is an issue of attraction. She's just making excuses to avoid fucking you. The correct solution is not to worry about whether you're doing enough dishes because you know you already are, but focus on improving your value. Or options. It can go either way. But I'm not going to get into dread here. It's kind of aside from it. So in the post you cited, that one I just talked about, I got the ops problem was in the former situation. he basically was just like a type 1 captain. If you ever, I got a post on here and a video on here about the 3 dysfunctional captains of the Married Red Pill. That's a type 1, drunken captain, begrudging first officer. So usually when a guy posts some version of day 1 red pill and my wife has already lost her mind, it's because he went from demonstrating zero leadership over the years to trying to act assertive overnight, and it's not going to work. And unfortunately, on Married Red Pill, we tend to focus on whatever bitchy thing the wife said in response and not try to parse out whether she got so pissed off because there's her useless captain drunk at the wheel, now acting like he can just throw orders when he's been the one at the ship, failing. If it's the only thing you've been doing for your household is basically bringing home a paycheck and that's it, you're probably not going to be getting enough leadership to be around any woman. Now, we generally advise leading through manly tasks, even though your wife could do them. She probably doesn't really want to. Put a pin in this too, because I'm going to bring up another point. Something that we've kind of sussed out over the years past this. Chances are you prefer to mow the lawn, service the car, fix a broken hinge anyway than the tedium of doing the dishes, so do that. Your wife will probably be more than happy to deal with the dishes when she sees there's a whole bunch of other things that you're handling that never even occurred to her needed to get done. It's a bonus that those tasks are manly, but it's not mandatory. Usually after dinner, my wife does the dishes, I sit in the kitchen with her, sorting through the email, paying the bills, sending in car registration renewals and stuff that isn't manly or sexy, but the wife doesn't nag me about the dishes all the time, now does she? There's a corollary to this regarding doing shit for your wife, when it's literally just doing shit for your wife. Doing dishes, taking out trash, whatever, that's for the household. Those tasks benefit you and the kids if you have them. You need to eat off clean plates, right? Your wife may be a drama queen about the dishes, but it's not like clean dishes only benefit her. But then, there are things that are more favors than tasks. There was a guy here a few weeks ago who used to make some smoothies for his wife every morning. He said he stopped doing that, and we all basically said, good, because your wife sounded like a huge bitch in general, and you shouldn't have been making smoothies or giving back rubs or fetching water for a wife that's pretty much a miserable cunt. Those are favors. And in general, you should only be doing favors for people who are adding value to your life and demonstrating that they enjoy doing favors for you. There's some rule about for every 3 nice things your wife does, you should do 2. Well, the corollary to that is 0 things from your wife means 0 things from you. Here's the thing. Sex is not a nice thing. In other words, it shouldn't factor into the equation at all. If your wife turns you down for sex, you shouldn't refuse to fetch her a glass of water if she's otherwise generous, appreciative, and respectful towards you. She's not fucking you mainly because of a lack of attraction, physical affection, or, whatever. You solve that by going to the gym, not by refusing glasses of water. There was a post today by another guy, the Married Red Pill camper, that had a great example of this. Wife wasn't fucking him as often as he'd like, mainly because he let himself get fat and unattractive. But his wife sounded pleasant otherwise, who probably does her share of stuff for him. He's going to get a lot more mileage out of improving his SMV than by denying favors. Now, conversely, if your wife is fucking you, but is otherwise an annoying bitch, admittedly a rare situation, but it happens, usually in the situation where you're constantly fighting but also constantly having makeup sex, then you should absolutely refuse those favors as well. Sex isn't a favor you pay back by fetching glasses of water. Sex is mandatory in a healthy marriage and benefits both of you, just like clean dishes. So, to sum up, the mental models go like this. There are tasks and there are favors. Wife bitching about tasks can be a cry for leadership. In that case, lead. Wife bitching about tasks can also just be excuses for not fucking you. In that case, improve your sexual market value. If your wife asks you for a favor, well, that depends on if she already does favors for you. Default to the 2/3 rule. If she does, then yeah, do it. If she doesn't, fuck her. Sex has nothing to do with favors. You should not trade sex for favors. This means you should do favors if your wife does favors for you, even if she doesn't fuck you. That also means not doing favors for your wife if she doesn't do them for you, but does fuck you. Like I said, this mental model works for me and essentially explains the apparent contradictions when it comes to when do you do shit for your wife. But I'm hardly the final authority on this, so take all the above with a grain of salt. And I would say you guys should do that as well. Remember, this is different. So it sounds a lot more different than dread, because it's not dread. This is just general mental models, red pill mental models. They are applicable in some situations and not the other. In the case where you decide to become assertive, I would strongly suggest for most guys, take it slow and have a reason. Don't just set a boundary because you need to practice setting boundaries, because then you tend to screw things up. But I don't know. I'm not sure what else I can add to this one, to be fair. It's really easy to take this out of context that thinks that, well, she needs me to step up and be a leader, so I should go do that. And it's not. So and I said to put a pin in it before how I was going to come back to this. The stepping up and being a leader, you're not doing it for her. I know it's worded that way here, but we've refined it in the years since. It's not doing it for her. You're doing it because that puts you in the best situation to have the freedom to carve out the life you want. What do I mean by that? Well, if you have all your shit together, you are in a much better position to judge whether your wife provides value for you or not in a marriage. I do all the dishes, I take the kids out, I handle this, I do this, and she's bitching that the dishes aren't done. All she does is sit there and eat bonbons. It's no longer maybe I need to do more. It's like, no, I do enough. She needs to get off her fat ass. See what I mean? There's a difference there. And a lot of guys, like, it's easy to say that and talk tough, but then you're going to end up like the guy who's like, no, I'm not changing the tires. No, I'm not going to get groceries. You can go fuck yourself, bitch. And you're like, well, basically, he's just a useless man-child at this point who's got a temper tantrum. He went from, and there's an older video, I went from 0% alpha, 0% beta. It's an early MidsWatch. I think one of the first 10. The second one was an Archwinger post. Now, I'm not going to quote it here. I'm just going to give you the summary of it. Is that women don't judge a task by its difficulty. They judge it by its importance. And this is one of those men and women are different things that really works in your favor. So from a strategic standpoint, keep this model in your head. And it's kind of funny how Jack used the idea of paying bills in that example. So dishes. Most people think doing the dishes is a slog. They hate doing it. Laundry, another one. They hate doing it. It's a ton of work. It's a waste of time. It's very boring. Yada, yada. Paying bills is easy, though. You just got to pull up a thing, pull up the bill, pay the amount, check the accounts, and you're good, right? But if you screw up doing the dishes, well, the dishes aren't done. Whatever. The sink's a little messy for a day. You can wipe off 2 plates, make some sandwiches, you're done. But if you don't pay a bill, power gets shut off. The internet gets shut off. Car gets taken away. There's an importance discrepancy there. Now, if you remember, I've talked a lot on this channel about how women really have a propensity to avoid responsibility. Like, something being her fault is the equivalent of a guy getting his ass kicked. Like, fundamentally, it's just part of our hardwiring to avoid that at all costs. So to your advantage, if you don't like doing chore play, but things in the house still need to get done, this is where those important tasks matter. You know, talking with lawyers, talking with judges, paying bills, anything that has an element of a potential for failure in it, your girl will see twice as important as you do. At the same time, when you see the drudgery of certain like boring tasks, you're going to see it as like twice as much of a pain in the ass as she does. Because she's like, oh, that's good. There's no failure in this one. I can just turn my brain off and go do my thing. And in this way, it kind of shows you when I was like, why do men and women have these? What's a masculine task? What's a feminine task? The big answer for that is, what are the consequences of failing at that task? And you'll notice the ones that are high in drudgery and low in failure, or low in consequence, tend to be feminine tasks. And the ones that are low in drudgery and high in consequence tend to be more masculine tasks. So you can give that to your feminist friends and they can shove it. Anyways, enjoy this one. Catch you guys in the next episode. Cheers. I hate all the dishes and laundry or cleaning. She does all that and I fix things. I mean, at the same time, I like that Mick Crow. My ex-wife this morning by text. I can't do everything, me. Yeah, I've been saying that for years. Well done, sir. So these ones are nice. The one thing I do say too, because it doesn't really fit, a lot of guys don't like it because it's like missing bravado and it's not sounding like an alpha male. But you got to remember, there's 2 types of guys that end up in like a relationship-based red-pilled model. Call them the fallen alphas, or like the has-beens and the never-weres. It was like fallen alphas and the used to be and the always beta type guy. It doesn't really matter, but I find the used to be guys, like they used to be a Chad and then they slowly let them go. They kind of apply more to the pregnancy one that I talked about before. You know, a couple hiccups, things kind of go south, but they know what they're doing. And then when you tell them to get more attractive again, fix the models, they tend to get back on the track pretty easily. But that's a very small minority of guys. Most guys are the other side of the things, where they've been a floor mat their whole life. And this is their first time establishing boundaries. They have no idea what a successful, enthusiastic sex life is. They have no idea what being assertive and having boundaries are. And they're the ones that make these big mistakes, like in this field report here, which is great. Other than it makes the married red pill look like a simp factory in which you're trying to basically show a guy not to become a plow horse for his wife, and he can't do it. And if this is you as a kind of guy, there's no shame in that. It's just whatever. But this is the one thing that's kind of annoying from a content creator standpoint, is that there's the occasional like super Chad who's having the same problems that everybody else has, and there just isn't a lot for them. So for most of the guys, I've even had to tell some of them, like, dude, you're tip of the spear. You're the first Chad type character in this type of situation. This is what you would tell a guy who's been more supplicative this whole life, but it doesn't seem to apply to you because you don't have those same problems, even though you're in the exact same situation. So here's what he did. Here's his solutions. Map that to your situation, and let's see some reports on that. So it's good. Maybe 5-10 more years, we'll get enough Chads that have run into relationship problems that we can start having the alpha male's alpha male guide or some nonsense, you know? So here's hoping. I was on Reddit earlier and someone said pick up is dead because women don't have women have dating apps now. I don't want to believe it. You don't have to believe it. I'm in my Patreon right now. There's probably 10 guys who are doing just fine without dating apps. One even's like, yeah, it's just for fun. I just deleted all the dating apps and just did it approaching during the day. It's fine. Anyways. You have to be the right ratio of alpha beta behavior for a good LTR, pretty much. And that's the thing. When everybody says, like, what's a good LTR? Well, that's up to, C-set. That's like, I think I finally pronounced that right. What does that mean to him? What kind of sex life does he find successful? What kind of, like, marital strife and, calmness does he find it? Some guys like things a little more spicy. Some guys like things calm and quaint. And some guys like things sex 3 times a day. Some guys are like, yeah, once a week. I'm too busy other than that. It's really one of those things you have to decide for yourself, right? And most guys don't. They've never had to. And that's the hard part. All right. Do you ever find guys who, once they start applying these things to their life, they've passed their options all dry up and they have to establish new ones? They realize they can push them over anywhere. Wait. I got to read this one more time. Do you ever find guys who, once they start applying these things to their life, their past options all dry up? No, there's no past options. That's the problem. When guys start applying like a lot of the red pill strategies in their life, they find out that the problem was they didn't have enough options. And so it's usually about building them. I mean, we can talk about catch and release, where guys start to learn how easy it is to be charming and flirtatious, how very easy it is to get a girl into bed if you really wanted to. And some guys are like, go for it anyway. And some guys are like, it's good enough. Just getting the phone number is good for me. Or, I mean, there's been guys who have gone as far as basically she had his hand on his pants and he's like, I gotta go. But it's how far you want to take it. But yeah, it's not having options is the problem. The closest I've seen, Mustang, to your question was a guy who was basically a pillhead and his wife was a drunk. And then he cleaned up for his kids. And because she needed an enabler, she divorced him for that. Because she would rather have the alcohol than the family. That's the closest I've seen that can apply to that. Yeah, pronunciation's good enough. Good. All right, so last one, the difference between frame and being stoic. And this is good because it's an old Wine More Please post, and I always love the Wine More Please stuff because he's just like me. He hates bullshit. He, me, whisper. That's why I quote these guys so goddamn often. Yeah, all right, I think I've caught up on your guys. Let's get on this one. Wine More Please. I enjoy every time he talks because he hates BS as much as me. Welcome, MidsWatch, Ryan. Enjoy yourselves, guys. We have got... This is probably one of those long time coming things that I haven't mentioned, but I really should. It's Wine More Please talking about the difference between frame and being stoic, because so many guys get this mixed up. They think that frame means you have to be a stoic, but they think a stoic means you just have to be a good punching bag. I have literally heard a guy saying, I stood there, my wife slapped me 3-4 times, and I didn't even flinch, as if that was his example of frame, and that's not the case. So I'm gonna get right into it. Typical, 7 years ago. This is 7 years ago. Wine More Please. He's probably in his late 20s now. I couldn't even tell you. But here's the quote. Been seeing a lot of people misunderstand what frame is, and that's leading to confusion. What frame is how we perceive reality. Now, he took a quote from The Return of Kings, if you guys remember the old Rouge V stuff. Your frame control is your worldview. It is your own set of rose-tinted spectacles which you view the world. Yours. Uniquely yours. The uniquely part is what's important. I see a lot of people saying they maintain frame as if it's some sort of onslaught bitch fest that's going to shatter your worldview. And it won't. So saying maintain frame is really a misnomer. What is suggested is to remain stoic, which equates to don't let the oncoming onslaught of bitchiness affect your emotional temperament. So, for example, if your wife is about to go batshit off the deep end, your frame might be, my wife is batshit crazy and about to go off the deep end. And if you had that frame as it happened, your response would be to laugh at the absurdity of your wife going off the deep end. You'd be watching her to confirm that in fact she is going off on the deep end, and it might be funny to you because it's so predictable. Her frame might be that you're being a terrible husband, a father, whatever, and she's going to push that reality, to which Return of Kings had a quote for this. Most people lack a comprehensive philosophy, a unifying worldview that helps them maintain their masculine center. Without the assistance of this rudder, a man can easily be knocked off his frame. He will become subject to the influences of the wicked or the wretched people. He will be dragged down by the tempting evils of society, or more commonly, he will fall victim to the self-doubts and insecurities that haunt every man. Continuing. If your frame is weak, you may find yourself believing that your wife's argument has some merit, or that her bitchiness has some grounds to it. You might feel like you should give her attitude the merit it really ought to deserve. Well, that's her frame. You're terrible. Beating out yours. You've lost certainty in your own reality. This reality is that she's being crazy. Being stoic in this situation can help you encounter some of those ill effects. You'll try not to show her that her words are impacting you, even though your sense of reality is being shattered. Your sense of reality, as it's gone, so goes your self-confidence. So in a sense, being stoic deals with how you process emotions and not so much your worldview. In the example, it might be, she's a total bitch and I'm not going to react, which is fine, but her worldview is taking precedence over your worldview since you acknowledge that she's being a total bitch instead of your original worldview that she's batshit crazy. Frame has a little bit more subtlety. Again, back to the quotes. I see frame control as a blend of three elements. 1, the ability to define and maintain the terms of social interaction. 2, the ability to project your masculine essence outward. And 3, your view of physical reality. Now, in most cases, if you have a strong frame, anybody that brought in anything that challenged your worldview would be laughed at and ridiculed for either being naive, stupid, or both. So what does this mean in practice? Well, this again brings us to the wonderful post on the main subreddit by a guy, Lupe, with his example. And it's just another quick word on frame, so it's repeating most of what we have here now, but the quote he uses is, "The thing is, our brains aren't selected to perceive reality accurately. Our brains were selected to help us climb social hierarchies and charm those around us. So when it comes to perceiving reality, we hamster. Everybody lives in their own reality because the human mind is not capable of perfectly perceiving reality in an objective sense. It must deduce reality through reason. This reality, when stacked up to the reality of those around us. If I was a teenager, I was homeless for a stretch, when I was a teenager, I was homeless for a stretch and did some weird things to get by. I noticed if I walked into a store, picked food up, and started eating it as I walked out casual as fuck, I never got stopped. The one time I got caught, I raised my eyebrow, gave the person a look like they were completely insane, and in a tone dripping with accusation said, this is mine? And then they backed off and I walked out. Dude looked like he was tripping balls because my frame was stronger than his. This is not holding frame. This is narcissistic manipulation, but the example stands to prove a point." So back to Wine More Please. He's like, while what he says is true, this is narcissistic manipulation, this is also a completely accurate demonstration of what it is to dominate with your frame. The outward manifestation of his belief was that the grocery store worker was absurd, resulting in an ability to be the one's reality that takes place. That food was his. This goes along the lines of if you act like you know where you're going, nobody's going to stop you. Notice how frame doesn't deal with how you process, and react to emotions. Frame is purely about your worldview. It takes a long time to develop the certainty and self-confidence to know you're right. It requires a lot of reference experiences. Now, there's a subtle difference between frame and stubbornness that Lupe also hits on. Lupe's quoted here is, to me, stubbornness is about ego investment in your opinions. Frame is being confident in your perceptions of reality. So to use my argument with my friend as an example, when he called me a psychopath, had I been stubborn, I would have argued with him. I'm not a psychopath, and that's an offensive insinuation. Undermining my character like that just because I didn't follow into your idea of behaving how I should have been, blah, blah, blah. Frame, instead, is a pure integrity throughout your reality, complete congruence with your perceptions. My emotions said I wasn't a psychopath. My mind says I wasn't a psychopath. There was no space in my reality where I wasn't a where I was a psychopath. So I just shrugged and was like, okay, bro, I stayed in my reality. I wasn't defending an opinion. It wasn't an argument. So to summarize, holding frame is the way you view the world's reality. Remaining stoic is how you react emotionally. When you get emotionally riled up because your woman's accusing you of bullshit, you're not remaining stoic. Now, with a strong frame, you'd be able to completely shrug off her bullshit. And with a strong frame, you'd be able to dominate reality by pushing your reality onto her and convince her she's being ridiculous. I'll leave you by encouraging you to read both the links in full. Hopefully that'll provide some extra insight. Luckily, I've read it for you, so you're good to go. So let's get... So that's the first part of this one. And I think it's a great example of frame. Because I think you guys have heard it. I think I stole the quote from him. I can't be sure. But I know I've used it a bunch. Where frame isn't something you have, it's who you are. And I wish more guys understood. They just don't. They think frame is bravado. They think frame is stoicism. They think frame is the ability to dominate. It's not true. It's literally a perception thing. And there's actually some pretty hard science behind what he was talking about, how we're not designed for objective reality. I have a live stream with Rollo. I even want to say it might be one of the ones on my channel, but it might be the one with his, where we talk about, there was a Nature article, a report from evolutionary psychologists about human beings' perception of reality. It was a pretty compelling case. The idea was the human brain isn't designed, like we aren't evolved to understand abstract things. In fact, logic, the thing we hold up as like the objective purpose of the universe, logic's purpose from an evolutionary psychology standpoint isn't to understand things better. It's to be consistent with our need for pattern recognition and to use that ability to influence others to act in our best interest. It's a manipulation tool, logic. It just so happens to have some objective reality searching, but anybody who's seen the latest scientific research can tell you right now that, like, yeah, emotions and manipulation and frame, over the last 2 years, the frame is, there is a horrible thing going around, we're all going to die, we need to take these steps, otherwise everybody's dead except for us. And everybody was like, yes, we got to do that. People started to believe it. And he started showing, like, no, it's not right, because look at this evidence here, look at this evidence here, look at this here. Didn't matter. People were still getting booted. And it turns out the dominant frame over the last 2 years was, the cough. Hey, you can't outframe the world, I guess, but some guys held the frame against it, and it's all just a persuasional thing. So this can be, now back to the Nature article, it was just funny, because it was like, we aren't evolved to see ultraviolet light. We're not evolved to see infrared light. We were evolved to see the visible spectrum. Why? Because the visible spectrum was the least amount of light you could look at and still be able to, wander around the world, hunt things, and procreate. So that's what we kind of evolved for. Same thing with, they call it not the macro world, not the micro world. Like, cavemen don't understand what a particle is or bacteria is. Cavemen don't understand what space and stars are. We understand the meso. We knew what, God, a person is in the sky and he rides a chariot every morning. That we could understand. The germs were, well, Jesus is giving you sickness and you got to get the leeches out of your system. Like, we understood that. And we've kind of advanced past it, but not really. We've just done more sophisticated. So it's something to consider when you think, I am a pinnacle of ration and reason and intellect and I am above bias. Just realize you're a meat puppet, same as the rest of us. You're emotional, you're persuasive or not, but those are the skills. Objective reality, while nice to have, is just something that we are fundamentally not capable of. So now that I've gotten that rant out of the way, Jack 10 of Hearts comes into this one. He's like, dude, this is really good. Like, I've often commented with some advice along the lines of, I would suggest you do this. This action will probably cause your wife to react badly and cause her to fly off the handle. And when that happens, maintain frame. If she gives you the inevitable guilt trip, use fogging with necessary. And then, so like for me, maintain frame in this example is misleading. But I really think that I should be using the term remain stoic. Could have substituted an even more colloquial phrase like hold your ground or keep your cool if you're just beginning to assert yourself. Your wife will likely react very negatively. But telling a man to maintain frame in this situation is kind of pointless because they have no frame. If they did, they wouldn't be in a marriage where asserting himself caused an issue. Now, there's probably why we get a lot of posts of some guys saying, I did X, my wife flipped out, but I think I maintained frame because, and then go on to describe the interaction because it's clear they did not do anything even remotely closely to maintaining frame, asserting frame, or doing anything else except for daring challenge the wife's frame and then backing down. But then we tell him, you failed to maintain frame, so that's really not so helpful. In fact, I would not be surprised if a lot of us at one point during our unplugging process thought to ourselves, well, what the fuck does this frame even mean? And I think the suggestions to maintain frame are more suited for things like this. As the sole income earner in your household, you should absolutely get the final say on 100% of your financial decisions. Do what you think is necessary to make this happen. You must operate within this frame and maintain it at all times. Your wife won't take it well, as she's used to having unlimited expenditures of your money, but that's irrelevant. You make the money, you get the final veto on how it's spent. That's your frame. If she wants to spend money frivolously, she can get her own job. Now, in the latter case, you can deflect your wife's objections by being stoic. If she backs down, you've maintained frame. But you can also use agree and amplify, amuse mastery, fogging, or countless other techniques, as long as your wife defers to your reality on the financial matters. You make the money, you get to decide how it's spent, you have maintained frame. At least, that's how the distinction reads to me. Correct me if I'm wrong. So we didn't correct him if he was wrong. I guess if you take the lesson from this, is just to understand frame isn't what you think it is. Frame is essentially the way you perceive reality. It's the narrative structure you surround. I talk often about mental models, or the narrative structures you use to help you make decisions. Frame is ultimately your collection of mental models. Now, if you want to have the stay-at-home wife and you're the patriarch at home, guys can set that up as their frame. Now, legally, there's a lot of things in the way of that, but if, and I don't want to do this as some kind of like hope-building exercise because I think it's a fool's errand, but if your wife buys into that frame that you have given out, that worldview, and then adheres to it, then you are maintaining frame. Having said that, when she decides she no longer wants to do that, her frame wins out, in this case the law. But the collection, it's not so much about what values you need, it's about having the persuasion to make them your reality and to not accept anything different. Now, there's going to be consequences with that. Women are human beings, they can make their own decisions. If you decide you wanted to be patriarch, and then she decides not to buy into it, leaves you, takes the kids, well, that's the consequence of your frame. You're like, I wouldn't hunt around there anyway. And so there's like this, I don't want to say nuance, but you have to be smart about it, because having a frame that's just incapable of being manifested is just delusion. If you want to call yourself the president of the manosphere and have autistic temper tantrums for 3 years, then yeah, that's pretty much a great way of holding frame, but it's also stupid. You know who holds the frame the best? 2-year-olds. You cannot negotiate with a 2-year-old's worldview at all. Is that a good thing? No, the 2-year-old's an idiot, but it's unwavering frame. Point for you, take that, apply it with your doing the work, knowing what you're capable of, knowing what your value is, knowing what you will and won't put up with, all these this is why it's so hard to do. Frame in itself is the tool, it's not the solution. But you have to have that strong worldview that you build up through experience. And this is why a lot of young guys really suck at it, because they just haven't done enough things. They haven't seen enough things they don't like in life to finally do something that they do like in life. And so I hope you guys get there. And if you don't get there, it's not my fault. I tried my best. I'll catch you on the next episode, though. Cheers. All right. Diego Magellan Thank you, dear sir. $4.99 super chat. This is my donation to the Library of Alexandria, or Alexandretta, as Ryan calls it. It's because that stupid Indiana Jones film. Thanks for all you do. No, thank you, sir. It's the stupid Indiana Jones. Ryan Stone equals best game in the game. Oh, thank you, sir. All right. So that's all the episodes I had planned for today. Oh, did I forget to name a bunch? God damn it. What am I missing? Last two. What was the last two? There was the frame one. And where is it? Oh yeah, doing stuff. Short play and frame. All right, still these in the folder. Oh, by the way, I found I have some like 2 or 3 recordings that I totally forgot to make videos of, and they're just sitting in this folder now. I don't know if I should put them out because it's like I still have like short hair back then. It's like, oh, damn it. Typical. Let me see here. To be fair, we have better sex with my girl because we both know each other better and there's more to it. I take that for what? That's just my opinion. Well, no, that's your frame. Again, that's the frame thing. It's like, yeah, within a relationship, the girl gets to know my body better, gets to please me better in the ways I want to. And that's your reality, and nobody's going to convince you otherwise. And if they tell you, no, new pussy's the best, you're just going to, whatever. Do what you do. You're not too attached. You're going to find anything outside your frame amusing, intriguing, or funny. Same thing. The guy who talks about New Strange being the best thing ever, it's going to feel the same way. And it's just a matter of whose frame wins. But at the same time, why are you having to argue with people? In fact, I will end on this. It's absolutely hilarious. I was telling a story on the Digital Rian channel. Where is it? Oh, here she is. Where I had trained a bunch of sailors and they got to have a bit of a reputation around the fleet. Like they knew their job, but they were very, very ornery, I guess is the best way to put it. And I realized with the T-Rex army and all of our stuff, we're kind of there now. Makes me laugh because I'm going to go right back to, right back to the beginning. And you guys, it's one of those things you really have to search through. There it is. If you don't know who Nash Daygame is, he's this guy who hates me. Because like, Dread, you should never make your wife uncomfortable. He's some pickup guy who's picking up young Thailand girls or whatever. Anyways, Nick August just put some random shit post out about making fun of Twitter accounts. And then he called him a cynical asshole. And then Nick was just laughing. Like here, when you want to talk about frame, here's frame. Nick's frame is Twitter doesn't matter. Twitter doesn't matter. This is all nonsense. And everybody here is full of shit. Nash comes in saying you're an asshole. Whose frame wins out on this one? Guaranteed. Now, it's funny because Nick was just kind of having fun with him. Playing around, goofing around. Check the quote teats if you want to see how far it goes in. As soon as these guys find out about it, though, oh my god. But yes, that's the frame. It's like, it's social media. Stop taking it so seriously. And this guy's like, no, it's super serious, and you guys are assholes. And you see who wins out on this one. And then, typical, at the end, Wine More Please had a great example. And this is like a follow-up for his example. This is all matters. And I love this for the internet because it gives you these nice, usable examples that you can use in your own life of frame. And here's Wine More Please's tweet as well as his Substack post on men with no frame and things they do. So in the future, when you guys are sitting here wondering what the fuck is frame and what was he talking about, think back to this tweet, think back to this essay, because it's probably and this MidsWatch is probably the best example I can think of. That's funny. He told you to shut up too. He tells everybody to shut up. Dude, he lost it on Allie. He's like, oh, this dumb bitch. I was like, oh, geez, friendly fire, dude. Friendly fire. Ah, whatever. Yeah, Nick's also banging 3 to 4 chicks in rotation. Nash talk about women in the abstract. It's per out on Twitter. But that's the thing, right? If Nick was at all insecure about it, this would have turned into a pissing match. But it didn't. Nick's just having fun. All right, tell me more about chicks, sir. And the guy's like, you'll figure it out one day, old man. He's like, I'm like, holy Jesus. I don't know. That kind of stuff just makes me laugh. Oh, he told him, not me. Yeah. Like I said, it looks like shit posting. But look, honestly, that stuff is gold. Like, you're never going to find a better artificial example of maintaining, holding frame anywhere. other than experiencing yourself in life or watching these goofy Twitter threads with the T-Rex army. But yeah, the pissing matches just aren't worth it unless it's for a branding exercise. Like you might, I think me on occasion have like a little bit of a pissing match, but morally it's just to entertain you fucking guys. No, even then I think I act more like Nick because like that is the entertainment value. Anyways, whatever. I got nothing else for you guys. This is the end of the recording. If you're watching this on Patreon, welcome to the channel. It's good to see you got through all these ones. I will see you guys on Thursdays. My voice is killing me right now, but whatever. T-Rex army don't play. Yeah, indeed. Arguing on Twitter is like defending my lady's honor with a one-night stand. It's too bad, too, because it's got potential. And I mean, the good thing about, like, if you want to get on a discussion, like a heated discussion with somebody you disagree with, if you could do that on Twitter, if two people had frame and we're talking about two different viewpoints on an issue, it would be a wonderful experience because everybody kind of learns something from each other. But the problem is you need two adults. This is something of a transactional analysis thing, but it's like the parent, adult, child model. You can have a parent and child discussion, you know, the guru telling you how to live. You can have a adult discussion, which is two people sharing ideas and learning from each other and swapping notes and bringing opinions into a not a middle ground, but like a reasonable third, whatever. Every other interaction is unsustainable. If you have like an adult child, it's like you're talking to a petulant teenager. It's just not sustainable. Eventually it breaks down. Same thing with a parent adult. Start talking to me like I'm one of your kids, it's not going to go very far. A child, it just ends up two fucking people micking at each other, and God knows we see enough of that. Two parents trying to parent each other, not sustainable. But that's the problem, is that just people suck. And so while potentially this is a great tool, we just really have no way of keeping the children out or the parents out. So we'll see. Anyways, I got nothing for you. Thank you, sir, for sticking around. How long did we do? How long is this stream for? Is this like on a roll length one or hour 41? Jesus Christ. I'm gonna get some sleep. Or you know what I mean, some rest. We got groceries today. I can't sleep yet. And then it's Wednesday today, so we got Patreon tomorrow. Friday, another Digital Rian stream. I am interviewing Yui McGill on Friday. And I will probably release that then as a Saturday episode of Red Morning. Last time I did a pre-recorded one was with Bad Billy Pratt. I think it went really well. It went really good. When's the next cooking video coming? It's coming when I want to make it. That's really it. And then, what's the other thing? Oh, one of the guys I met on Adam Krigler's Based as Fuck Mondays. We're going to be doing some talk about Canadian TV and C11. I think that's next Wednesday on his channel. Just keep an eye on my channel for that stuff, and it'll be nice. It's not a red-pilled conversation, but it's neat from like a Canadian. The fact that the guy knows more Canadian TV than me is pretty impressive. That and the fact that he understands that Canadian TV is basically propaganda. But whatever. And then Paul. I want to say Paul is doing Rule Zero this weekend, but I couldn't tell you for sure. Anyways, I'm going to let you go. Have fun, boys. Cheers.